Welcome back to Nerd Thug Radio. This is how we close things out Nerd Thug Radio style.
Yeah.
And that means I'm Cory DLG.
You're Joey Savage. I'm Cory DLG.
I'm so hyped up I don't even remember things.
You got excited. Like, this is what happens with too much eye contact. You now think you're me.
I'm Captain Joey Savage. This is my heterosexual life partner.
I'm not even going to respond.
Cory DLG. This is Cardinals FM 104.5, 106.1.
Sister stations.
Worldwide at
IRLoneStar.com.
All right, man, what you got closing things out? You said you want to talk a little bit about Chris Paul and James Harden, the Kardashians, and
Well, I didn't say all that.
Legs, and Eric Gordon, and all kinds of things.
Okay, so ESPN last week aired a documentary, a series of episodes called Chris Paul Chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Check it out on demand or on the ESPN streaming app. It actually was really, really interesting. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
I know we don't do a lot of sports here. This isn't as sports heavy as you think it would be if it's about Chris Paul. Basically, it's following him during the off season, which for those who don't know, he was still a Clipper. Both him and Blake Griffin opted out of their contracts. And then it's trying to decide what to do next.
Right.
But he essentially gave these guys all access, and he didn't sugarcoat things.
Nope.
So the first episode was really interesting, and it's what kind of caught my eye and had me TiVo the rest of them, is I'm sitting there watching it, and he's talking about his experience with the Clippers while he's still a Clipper, technically. Well, he's a free agent. He opted out of his deal. But
theoretically.
Right. But he's, at that point, probably still going back to Los Angeles.
Right.
And so he's talking, his brother is his manager, and the two of them are talking with this guy that they go to for advice about basketball and about life. Like, I guess he's like just an advisor of some kind. He's an older gentleman.
Their mentor.
And so they're sitting there talking to him, and he essentially he says, well, you know, kind of, they were like, financially and family, it makes the most sense to stay here. LA's offered 5 years, $210 million.
Woo! I just want like 10% of that, man.
Man, I'll take the full thing. But the basketball thing, I'm very unhappy, is what he's saying. He's saying, listen, financially, I could take this deal, my family would be happy, and money-wise, we'd be thrilled.
Yeah, for sure.
But basketball-wise, I've been
unhappy on the court.
I've been really miserable the past couple of years. It's been really hard here in LA. The culture of this team is not one that I enjoy, and my ears perked up because the one thing you don't hear players do publicly is talk about the real reasons they left. It's always
right.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Well, we got to make the best decision for me and my family, and for whatever. I wanted to compete for a ring. Blah blah blah. Essentially, the reason he wants out of LA though is he doesn't feel like this is a team.
Yeah.
And what he says is, when I suggest that we do things together, he goes, when I was in New Orleans, we went out of our way to do stuff together. We would purposefully make events and plan events where several of us would go together. Sidetracking a little bit, NBA 2K18 has Kevin Garnett as one of the guest announcers. During when you play the Boston Celtics in season, they bring him on and he talks. And he's talking about how when they brought that team together, it was all on the fly. But they were a unified team by the time the season started because they took a trip to Rome. None of them spoke Italian. They were doing this international basketball thing. They played some other NBA teams, but they were on their own little travel schedule. They played some European teams. While they're traveling, they all don't speak Italian. They all felt a little isolated, so they all had to rely on each other. And they would go on group excursions and group outings. Always 3 or 4 people would go together, and it was always different mixes of people. So all of a sudden, the team felt like a team.
So you think maybe early on in LA they did that, and then...
No, I don't think they did it all in LA. In New Orleans, they did it, is what he was talking about. When he came to LA, though, he said he would organize events. And he didn't say who, but he said, like, people that are important to the Clippers, they would say, is this mandatory? Do I have to go?
You think it's because they were in LA?
I think it's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Also, when he got to Houston, another comment that he made was, it's exciting to be in a city where this is important.
Yeah.
And I get that.
What
I do
was
get
the
that.
story? They were talking to somebody. I can't remember who it was. And Chris Paul had just signed with the Rockets. Like, he had been there maybe 3 days. And I think they were in LA talking to, like, trying to recruit somebody. It was James Harden. And Chris Paul just comes walking in the door and just starts talking about how much he's loved Houston in his 3 days. And just was on a recruiting pitch for Houston, and his whole persona changed when he came here.
Yeah.
In like 3 days.
Yeah, well, no, and that's actually what his brother said. So his brother in the second one is talking to the camera separately. Chris Paul's somewhere else doing some stuff, and the brother's just kind of giving his own feelings and everything.
Right.
He's like, honestly, in a perfect world, we would have stayed in L.A. The best thing for us to have done is to stay in L.A. But for Chris and for basketball, this is the best move. I've never seen him like this. He is a changed man overnight. And Behind the scenes, you and I know some people and know some things, just from relationships that we won't really talk about on the air. But what they're talking about on this program is counter to that. They're talking about the leadership of the Rockets. They're talking about how this group is really coming together.
Yeah.
And so I think this year may be different. I don't know if the Chris Paul, James Harden thing is going to work.
Who knows?
But the Rockets have always been a team-oriented team. Like, they do stuff together.
Yeah, they do.
And so I think at least on that aspect, you're going to get a happy and different Chris Paul. And I think that kind of opens up the door because they talked about playing style a lot, and they had really honest conversations about that too, where James Harden and Chris Paul are sitting there talking to the camera, and Chris is like, well, obviously it's going to take me a little while to adjust. And James is like, man, when I see you dribble, it drives me crazy. I want you to come down and just shoot that shot. I don't want to see 1, 2, 3. I want to see shots. So Mike D'Antoni, the coach, has actually apparently privately challenged the team to shoot 53 pointers a game.
That's crazy.
So, like, he's telling them, I don't want to, just do it. Just do it. So Chris Paul has got to change his mindset a little bit because apparently they want James Harden to still have the ball 90% of the time. So Chris Paul is only going to create a little bit, like when James is off the court. But then when James Harden's on the court, Chris Paul's job is to just kind of be available.
Which has always been kind of the Achilles heel of the Rockets to me is when the minutes Harden's not on the floor.
Who runs it? Who do you go to? Because Eric Gordon's a scorer but not a creator.
Right.
And I agree. But now you got Chris Paul.
And Beverly was more of a defender than
right.
he really was a creator.
But now I guess what you do is you go heavy James Harden, Chris Paul in the beginning. Then you start to transition like minutes-wise in the middle. And then in that third quarter break that you typically give the star, you do Chris Paul, Eric Gordon.
Right. It's going to work.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll see.
I think so. But anyway, it was a really fascinating documentary because it was incredibly honest.
Right, which is always fun.
And you don't see that a lot, and that's what caught my attention was the way he was talking about L.A. while technically still a Clipper.
Right.
Was interesting.
So what about Extra Life? You said you want to hop into that a little bit.
Man, I really want to talk about this. I'm excited about this.
It's going to be a fun weekend.
I know. I hope everybody comes out. I hope everybody, spends some money at Space Cadets, not just because they're our sponsor, but also because it's for a good cause.
It is.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Gaming is something that's kind of become really important to us. We all enjoy. It's one of the few things. We're very busy people now, and gaming is still one of those things we make time to do.
We're hoping to have a couple special guests out there this weekend too. So
I know, man. So I really hope
on the lookout.
I hope it's as big as we're trying to get it to be. I want people to come out because I want this to be successful, and I want us to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm really excited. Last year we did this whole gaming marathon at my house. I think this year's going to be a little bit better to do Space Cadets for a while and then kind of go back and do something.
Yeah, we'll do most of it there.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be you holding it down from start till.
Hey, man, I'm the anchor, bro.
Until I get there.
I'm the anchor.
7:30 at night.
What? 7:30? What happened to like 3 or 4?
So yeah, it's going to be fun this weekend. Mario Kart's such an easy game to play.
I'm still terrible at it.
And you're horrible.
That's all right.
And anybody can play, kids to adults. So I mean, anybody that wants to come in, it's $20.
Right.
All that money's going to charity. We should have a trophy for the winner. We'll name the first ever Nerd Thug Mario Kart champion.
Extra Life champ.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We had fun. Did you get that email this week?
I haven't read it yet, but yeah.
Actually, I sent an email. I was like, you raised this much money last year. Come back and do it again.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys. Yeah, it was such a fun time last year. I can't believe it's already been a year.
Right.
Like, I still remember that night like it was yesterday.
I don't remember much by the end of it because I was exhausted.
Yeah, you were. You passed straight.
I was like, all right, you guys are in charge. Last hour, I'm out.
Man, so I guess we got a few minutes here. Let's just talk a little bit. So we've been working on a TV show.
Yes.
A Nerd Thug produced TV show.
Yeah.
We call it Familiar Practices.
Yes.
It's kind of the brainchild. Really, it's our brainchild. Me and you, we came up with the idea, but you did all the writing.
Yeah.
We came up with the premise together, sitting in the pool one night, drinking some brewskis.
We did. We were limited by budget and availability, and we said, what can we do where we never change the set?
And well, my whole thought going into it when we started coming with an idea, let's do a TV show.
Right.
Is let's do something low budget that we can shoot in one spot. And as much as I love The Office and Parks and Rec, I was like, something like that would be great.
Right.
What hasn't been done yet? And that's kind of how it came up. You want to shoot the premise of the show real quick?
So it's two brothers that are coming together. One's been away a while, so the typical prodigal son returns home. That's your entry into the show, entry into this world. He comes home to basically carry on the family practice because his life is kind of falling apart.
They're chiropractors.
Yes, thank you. And so when he comes back, he's expecting to see one thing, and what he gets is a totally different thing. Whereas he's expecting dad to be there running the shop that he remembers growing up in. Instead, little brother who's always been a little off his kilter. Now he's the man in charge. Dad's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different scene.
We get some good characters involved, some good writing. Like I think it could be total garbage. I don't care. We shot the pilot.
I know. That's where my head's at right now about it. Like, it's getting edited right now, so when it's ready, we're gonna see it. We'll know. In the meantime, I kind of made my peace with it. Like, hey, we made a show. Like, no matter how it ends, no matter what we made a show.
Pilot.
I write down a list of things that I want to do every year.
I'm gonna put the intro up probably on Facebook this week, just so
do that.
You guys can see what we got going on. But yeah, so you got a list.
So I write a list.
You just make the list.
The list. So I write down a list of everything I want to do in a year, and some of it's far fetched, some of it's not.
Yeah, you've got a few months left.
We got a few months left of the year. I still need to get a tattoo. I still want to make a country album. I still need to release a short story and a novel. But on there was
TV show,
and it made the list.
You made the list. So be on the lookout for Familiar Practices coming soon. Man, episode 80, epic as always.
Yeah,
Nerd Thug Radio.
You know what that means?
What?
A movie next.
Oh, we gotta do a movie next?
Now we gotta do a movie next.
Hey, our friend Ken Costantino made a really good B-rated horror film.
Yeah, he did.
And
Attack of the Killer Shrews.
We can do it.
We can do it.
I want to say thanks for checking us out on this episode. As always, you can catch us at facebook.com/Nerd Thug Radio. This week, the YouTube and podcast will go up. And Cory DLG.
Same Nerd Thug time, same Nerd Thug channel.